Hello, everybody. I'd like to call the Library Board of Trustees for the City of Palm Springs, our meeting to order. The time I have is 5:30 on July the 13th. Jeannie, would you please do roll call?
Ed McBride.
Present.
Craig Borba.
Present.
Juanita Garner.
Here.
David Norgard.
Here.
Al Jones. I see you.
He's here.
Here, sorry.
You're good.
Thank you. Item number 2, we're going to reorder the agenda before we have the acceptance because we have the city attorney's office present. We're going to move item number 7C to the top of the list for section 7, if that's okay. So can you give us an update on the agenda besides that change, Jeannie?
The agenda was posted on or before July 6th.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to accept the agenda and the change?
I'll move that we approve.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Ed McBride.
Yes.
Craig Borba.
Yes.
Juanita Garner.
Yes.
David Norgard.
Yes.
Al Jones.
Yes.
Okay.
Item number 3 is always reserved for public comment. Jeannie, do we have anyone that wishes to provide public comment?
I have Bill and David in the attendee area. David, I assume you're just going to be here for the foundation report, correct? And then for 7C?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll move you over when we get, well, I'll work on moving you over now, but okay, thanks.
So no one else?
Nothing else.
Okay. So the consent agenda, may I have a motion to accept the consent agenda, please?
I'll move. Second.
Roll call, please.
Just a second. Ed McBride,
Yes.
Craig Borba,
Yes.
David Garner,
Yes.
David Norgard,
Yes.
Al Jones.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
5-0.
Item number 5 is our administrative reports. Do we have a report from the Friends of the Library?
The friends are not here. I'll tell you, Julie might want to chime in too, but I'm going to tell you that we made a request of the friends for donations for this current fiscal year, and they approved $115,600 in funding for us for this fiscal year, including a lot of different things, books, the fish pond maintenance, summer reading. We're going to do a pilot program with the high school to do a teen book club with them, and some new subscription boxes for teens, and then $10,000 to be a gap for our zip books program.
And I'm happy to report that, well, this not part I'm not happy about necessarily, but as circumstances would, the Cultural Center has decided not to continue with Palm Springs Speaks, but the Friends want to continue it. So they are taking sole responsibility and voted to refund the program with the money that they got back at the end when we ended the last season, right when COVID was happening. So that they reinvested their initial $60,000 that they had received back, and then they added to that. And we're hoping to do just one Palm Springs Speaks event in the first quarter of 2023. So we're looking to do a highly visible speaker, very well name recognition. So there's a few different people that we're pursuing, and but the Friends will be the sole beneficiary and supporting sponsor of that. And so we have restarted that. We have started to recontact the other sponsors, and so far it seems like people are very excited to bring Palm Springs Speaks back. There's been some interest in allowing us to use the Plaza Theater. So depending on where that is in that time frame, that might be a possibility. So what we're doing now is we're having to transfer the DBA from the Cultural Center to the Friends and redo the website, reset up an Eventbrite account and all the, kind of that kind of stuff. And so we're working on that diligently. And we will be hopefully signing an agreement with the speaker in the next few months. So that's kind of where that is. And then they're dark for July and August. So that's all the Friends news I have.
Thank you. Mr. Sidley, do you have a report for the foundation?
No, I think I'll just, in the interest of time, we're going to talk about everything. So.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Jeannie, how about staff?
Okay, so great news for the library. The library was a wonderful topic of the annual budget. So our 2022-23 fiscal year budget was approved. So for the main library, that our operating budget is $3.2 million. For Wellwood Murray Memorial Library, that's $190,000. So that brings our total department budget to roughly $3.4 million. Plus, as you might have you been following along, that the capital improvement projects they want to fund us. So they funded, what did I say, at 8.2 million for this year and 5.3 million, something like that for the next year. So that's wonderful news, terrific.
Wonderful.
And there's money for the Fry building. And so that's amazing. We will be also hiring an archivist, a librarian archivist.
Wonderful.
That's something that is in the future. Right now, though, we've got active posting for 2 part-time library assistants. So 20 hours a week. They work at the circulation desk, customer service. And the job posting and application link is on the city's website, which is palmspringsca.gov. And the job closes in 6 days. So get your applications in. We usually get a good batch of applicants for that particular job. Summer reading concludes this week. Our Saturday, July 16th is the last day that you can check in and get your free books or log your reading, track your reading, and enter entry tickets to win the grand prizes. The grand prize finale is going to be Wednesday, July 20th at 10:30 a.m. And trustees and friends and foundation, you're all invited to attend the grand finale for the prize drawings. And right now we have over 500 registered for summer reading.
Wow, that's great.
Last year total, we had 496. So we beat last year. This is an unusual year for us. Of course, this is because of the pandemic. This is the first time we've had in-person programs, but also there's a little, there's caution in the wind. People are cautious and not coming out as much as they used to our programs, but we've had really good turnout. And in fact, Julie had a painting program this afternoon that had good attendance. And so summer reading has been fun. And I can't believe it's over almost. We've got a couple more programs this week. Zip books, as I said, the friends have agreed to do some gap funding for us while we apply for the next grant. There is a grant application with the California State Library currently open, and we hope to receive more funds. I think it's a great program, wonderful program. We had good supportive feedback from the community. Everybody seems to love it, and it's a great way for us to get the books that people want and get them quickly. And if you don't remember, we order them through Amazon, and then they are shipped directly to the person's house. So cutting out a lot of the to get the books to the people, and then we'll process it when it comes back. And then just a reminder that the Library Board of Trustees and the City Council are dark in August, so there are no meetings next month, and we'll be meeting back again in September. And that's my report, but I'm happy to answer questions.
So Jeannie.
Oh, and Julie has a report.
So
Sorry.
Let me ask a question about the budget. So the capital improvement program, they gave us enough, even if we don't get the state grant, is that correct?
So yes, so what we estimated, and I worked with the engineers, we estimated $14.1 million in infrastructure costs.
Okay.
And the city budgeted that much.
Okay.
So they budgeted their matching portion and the part that the state grant is equal to. Now, infrastructure only doesn't get you carpet and paint. You might not know, but I'm telling you, it doesn't get the carpet and the paint and the chairs and the tables and the computers and all the pretty stuff. So that's where you all can come in, the Friends, the foundation, and help us get the rest of this. And we're going to find out how much that will be too. So, but we have enough budgeted to do the guts,
Good.
the hard stuff.
That's just amazing
That's.
that I
yes.
lived long enough to see this. By the way.
Me too.
Me too.
By the way, I'm wondering,
Oh,
am
yes, me
I
too.
in heaven or hell? I don't know. Where am I around? I really don't know. That's fantastic news, and I'm really grateful for that. So when do you think we might hear from the state library?
They said the summer,
It's summer for sure.
yeah, all the way to September. So I don't know.
Yeah, fingers crossed there too.
There's some good news from our California Library Association lobbyists is that they got more money for next year for infrastructure too. And they're hoping to get even more after that.
And it's my history with them that they may not give us what we've asked for, but they may give us something. They may come back and say, our budget only allows to give you so much, right? So we would take whatever they give us. We hope we just want something. Send a check, right?
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go or you want to, Craig?
I have a couple questions.
Yeah, Chair recognizes Craig Barber.
For the Frey building, how much did they set aside for that?
Excuse me, I want to say 800,000.
Was 800,000.
Okay. And the money they're allocating for us is just really for infrastructure. It doesn't allow us to increase our footprint. Is that correct?
That's just the raw budget. Yes.
Okay, so if we want to add additional parking or move the parking spaces, that's going to have to come from another fund or
Yeah,
additional.
in fact, the grant won't even allow you to do exterior work. It's only interior work. So for that grant, the grant
Right.
requirements, but the city, we know we need more parking. We know we need paint outside. We know,
Auditorium space.
yeah,
Right.
we love to have that. So
Yes.
there are things that we can work together with our city and scope of work and hiring architects and planners and whatever we need to flesh that out and come up with the plan.
In that case, you would do the scope of work, which will be a whole different project, right? That scope of work will include public comment, public input, our input, everybody. So if it comes back that these are needs that need to be included, then the city will try to cover those costs, right, as part of the design, or they may look for fundraising to do it, correct? That would be what would be.
Yeah, right now, I mean, we're just talking about the scope of work to hire. Who are we hiring at this point to determine all of that?
Right.
We're gonna
Well,
work
and we
with-
did ask the community lots and lots and lots of times. So hopefully we would revisit a lot of that input too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and they'll evaluate what we've already done and
Right.
what can be reused and what can build on that.
Okay, so the city is giving us 1.3, right? Approximately 1.3, 1.4
Oh,
For what?
what? For what?
from Measure J,
Uh-uh.
14 million.
Uh-huh.
14.1 million for 2 years.
Okay, so, and the matching from the state is how much?
Oh, we applied for half of that. We applied for 7.
7. So now we're looking at 21 million.
Potentially. If it comes through.
Potentially, sure, yeah.
Okay.
Because that was a question that came up during council. They said, realistically, what do you think this is gonna cost? And I'm like, easily 20, maybe 25. Because,
And that's just for infrastructure.
well, no, that would be for everything. Because
Oh, okay, okay.
9 years ago, it was gonna cost us 15 million for everything.
Because the
15 to
7 million,
18.
if let's say the state library gives us 7 million, the city would match that 7 million. So 14 million of the budget would go towards infrastructure, which probably would, you're right, would be what we would need. Then we would have another 7 million that would go towards the rest of the project, correct? When it comes to the building, not the FF&E, but it would really be the rest of the building, correct?
It's up to the city to decide what
Right.
they want to do. If they want to do 3 million on the building and 3 million for the FF&E, furniture, fixtures and equipment. We'll figure all that out, but it's very great.
The good news is the monies are coming.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, I'll pass it to Julie because she's got some stuff to report too.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
I just wanted to remind people that although like Jeannie said, summer reading is ending on Saturday, we do still have one last program on Saturday for adults. It's a trivia challenge. So we want everybody to come out, all adults come out. You can make a team. It's at 1:30. We have great prizes. It's gonna be super fun. So 1:30 on Saturday. Also, I just wanted to, I can't remember if we had this news when we last met, but we did start the California State Parks Pass program where you can check out a Parks Pass with your library card here. And we did get awarded a $5,000 grant to construct some backpacks that are going to go along with each of those park passes so that when people check out the pass, then they'll also get this backpack full of useful things, guides and tools and all sorts of things to help them enjoy the state parks. So we're going to be working on formulating those backpacks and getting those out with the passes soon too. So I just wanted to make sure that we got that news out that people could come in with their library card and check out a California State Park Pass. And that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, as always. Okay, very good reports, everyone. This is once again, it's a historical meeting, everyone, that the money we've been waiting for is going to happen. And I think the rest of our agenda is going to talk a little bit more about how we're going to get to this brand new building. So thank you, everyone, for your reports. Treasurer's report from our treasurer, Trustee Jones. What have you got for us?
Yes, let me turn to the page here. I have it. There's not any major change, which is why I just went ahead without talking with Jeannie. Really, the changes was very minor. We've gone from 1.866 million on June the 1st to 1.860 million on July the 6th. Nothing major in there that I can see. A $2,000 payment from the note receivable. Nothing major that I could see or unusual, unless you can see anything, Jeannie, that I missed, but it's a pretty straightforward. Jeannie, you were going to follow up to see from the finance department about the return rate. Were you able to secure any information from them?
That's right. They were going to get back to me, but then they said, let me update. So
Right.
on the city's website, in the treasurer's section under
Because it wasn't up the last meeting, so.
You're right. So I'll check on that. Well, I'll just look right now and see if I can find there. Where's it? It's in there. I'll get back to you.
Okay, great, thank you.
So
So
Jeannie,
otherwise. Mhm.
So Al, one more thing, we need to reconcile the forgiveness of the note between the
Right.
Library Foundation. I thought that we had a balance much less than that 52. I see 52. That was not right, is it? I mean, I thought it was
No,
less.
it says 46.
Oh, I'm sorry, looking at the wrong page. Right.
Right, 46,000, right.
Yeah, so that has been signed off and it's done. So we probably, what happens with that, Jeannie? Will it come off the books?
What I was waiting for them to do is to roll over to our new fiscal year. And when they do the rollover, I'll make sure that it rolls back in the proper place.
Perfect.
It's part of your assets. You know, it's not in your liabilities category anymore. Like, I think it was in the liabilities the last month and now it's up in your assets. So but if it doesn't, I'll make sure they fix it.
Right, right.
Thank you. Any questions on the treasurer's report from any of the trustees?
I move to accept.
Yeah, go ahead, Craig, please.
I move to accept.
May I have a second, please?
Okay.
Roll call?
Just a second. Ed McBride,
Yes.
Craig Borba,
Yes.
Juanita Garner,
Yes.
David Norgard,
Yes.
Al Jones.
Yes.
Thank you. And per our modification of the agenda, we have a representative from the city attorney's office to share. Did everyone get the email from Jeannie today from the city attorney?
Yes.
Okay, so I think all of our questions were there, and Kylie, I assume you're our representative from the city attorney's office, right?
Yes, I work with Jeff Ballinger and I've been
Welcome.
for the last few years. So thank you very much.
We're glad to have you. So do you mind reviewing that document, or is there anything that Jeff asked you to present to us on this topic?
I'm basically just available for questions. I can go through the document if you'd like, or you can just ask question, whatever you prefer, Mr. Chair.
Since
And I can
there-
share the document too, if you'd like to see it on the screen.
Why don't you do that? I'm sitting here looking at my copy, but why don't you share it?
Yeah, I have my copy too, so.
Just for the benefit of the public too.
So trustees, remember, these are questions that we've had for quite some time, and we've been waiting for these answers
Yeah.
to come forward. So I think we now have I like the way we have our short answers and we have our long answers. I love the way that's
Mhm.
organized.
I do.
So I'm going to turn to the trustees, and I think that Trustee Jones, you had some questions, as well as Trustee Borba. So do you guys have anything you'd like to discuss?
I'm good with this so far.
Yeah. I am too. I like the way it was presented, the short answers with the detailed answers. I thought it was incredibly helpful, very easy to read, and answered really my questions.
Okay.
Fairly straightforward.
And by the way, I'm not ignoring Trustee Norgard or Gardner. Please, if you have questions, you may
Yeah.
jump in and ask, because you've been part of the discussions as well. So please forgive me. I didn't mean to.
You know, I the only thing, I'm sorry to, let me retract one thing on that, Ed, and that is I did ask for it in writing, some of the answers, which we have here. So we have a clear no that that we cannot dictate how public funds and the trust funds are invested. It's a clear no in writing, so I'm giving up that. I'm not going to fall on the sword because there's nothing to be done.
Yeah.
So Craig and I, when we were looking at other opportunities, we're kind of stuck with the city's return, which is disappointing, but this is the way it is. So, because I think we could have gotten a little better return. That's why I'm anxious to see what the city's return was now that we have more information. But no, this was sufficient for me to respond. So I do appreciate the attorney's office going to this extent.
Anyone else? Yes, Trustee Norgard.
Thanks. I do appreciate these answers too. I found them very clarifying, very helpful. They answered nearly, well, most of what we were considering in our last meeting or so. So I just want to, offer my thanks for that. I really appreciate it. I do have a couple follow-up questions though. In a couple of different places, in the summary statement at the end and in long answer to, I forget which number, if you wrote this, Kylie, I don't know, but anyway, whoever the author of the answers states that we cannot invest money, we cannot tell the foundation or the friends how to invest money that we give to them. Now, here's my question. I understand that the explanation of that is because they're not a public agency. Okay? But if we are to say grant the friends or the foundation X amount of money, can we set guidelines or other requirements as to how the foundation or the friends, any nonprofit, generically speaking, uses that grant we make to it? I imagine what the answer should be logically, but I would want to hear that from you.
So if I understand your question correctly, you're asking, could we create we've talked in our office has recommended a memorandum of understanding, also
Yes.
called an MOU, that would outline the expectations and timelines of what the board would be asking of either the friends or the foundation. If you're asking, could the board ask them to do certain expectations in exchange for the money? Yes. If you're asking, I think that's what you're asking.
Yes, yes, that's right. Yes.
Then yes, you can do that. And that is one of the, I believe Jeannie passed on, because Jeannie and I spoke prior to your last board meeting. And the city attorney's office would recommend that those are some of the expectations that you would lay out, and different hurdles or different metrics by which you would
Yeah.
then handle money, so that you would have some measure of control, because I heard from Jeannie that you wanted to have some control over how that process and how that money is spent for the betterment of the library.
Right. Yes. My context is the nonprofit sector. That's what I teach about and so forth. And foundations, when they award grants, typically set some stipulations as to what the funds, what general purpose the funds should be used for, to advance this, for capital, for this, that, the other thing, in this time frame, some general parameters for the use of the funds to be awarded. And if I'm understanding you correctly, that is along the same lines that we can do with the trust fund with the library.
If that is the board's wish, yes, you absolutely can. You could also ask for reporting and any information that you'd like in the memorandum of an understanding that would outline basically the rules of engagement for both parties as to how we're going to work together. The board
Okay.
would be granting money, and here's what you would expect in exchange for that. The general
Great.
parameters we talked about.
Great. I appreciate that. I'm glad I had a chance to ask, and I'm glad you gave us such a clear answer on that. My only other question is there any limit to what we can award? The sort of unwritten implication of the long answer seems to be no, but I want to check that out.
Provided the board can come to the finding that there's a public purpose for the money granted, there's no specific limitation under state law or within the Palm Springs code that would limit that specific number amount. However, you do want to be able to say there's public purpose for how you're transferring the money for obvious reasons. And if you need me to explain those, I'd be happy
Yes,
to, but
of course.
board, you understand those.
Okay. Connie, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here tonight and for those answers of clarification.
Of course, happy to help.
So Katie, a follow-up to those questions, please. So a couple of follow-ups. Clearly, as long as it's to the good of the library. So if we give the money to the foundation or their friends for a particular project that's going to benefit the library in some way, that qualifies. So that would be in our specifications or stipulation. And in some cases, it's a given because the money's going to, or whatever happens, comes back to the library, correct? Would you agree?
Yeah, you would want, yeah, you would identify on the record the public purpose, but yes, based off what you just indicated, you're assuming the public purpose is innate in that, but so I have no reason to doubt that you would not be able to make that public purpose finding.
It's been my experience in working in this in my professional life that would we need an MOU that would be very general on the relationship between the foundation and the trustees and how we operate in terms of reports of representation, those kinds of things, followed by, I could see us maybe having specific MOUs or grants where we would say we're awarding this sum of money to specifically fulfill the FF&E budget that has been identified below and be very specific. You know, we need this many chairs, this many whatever for the library. So we could be both have a general overarching MOU as well as specific, or would they need to be drawn up every time we give a grant?
You can do it any and all of those ways. Memorandums of understanding there's not a one size fit all. So you could have an overarching, here's how we're agreeing to kumbaya, like here's how we're going to work together. And then as you have specific projects or grants that you talked about, you could have more specific rules. And so you could amend your MOU to have more specific parameters, metrics, any and all of those. The board could also take the position that you want to keep it very vague in general, that when they come and ask for money, we will simply give it to them. It depends on how much oversight both you and the foundation and or the friends wants to have, where you want to go with that. I've seen very loose MOUs that basically we're agreeing to agree. And I've also seen very detailed on, January 1st, you have to give us a report of what you've spent. So it really is how much work you want to make both the foundation and or the friends do, and how much work does the board want to do as far as dealing with the detail of the MOU. And obviously, I'm assuming staff would have an opinion on where in that spectrum, because it can be in the entirety of the spectrum. I've seen them all different ways. It just depends on what's the goal of the board and the city.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions specifically for Kylie?
No, thank you.
Yeah, this is very clarifying. We thank you very much. It helps us for the next agenda item, which we're talking about a possible grant for the foundation. So it's timely and we really appreciate it. And we know that we do know that once we get to the point to where we are drawing up these MOUs, the city attorney's office would review those for us and help us formulate and make sure we cover everything, correct?
Absolutely. And it is helpful just as a matter of having drafted a lot of these, creating kind of a bullet point list of what the basic terms are before you start having us put pen to paper and not meeting what the goal of the board is.
Sure. All right, perfect. Okay, if there are no more questions, then I think we can let Kylie go join her evening. And we thank you again. I'm sure we'll be talking to you again very soon.
Absolutely. You guys have a wonderful night. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, let's get back to our agenda.
And we're still on 7C technically, if you want to.
Oh, well, let's just finish then. So everyone, I hope you got the document. I tried to follow the instructions that you guys gave me at the last meeting, but I have to give credit to Trustee Norgard. His document was so helpful because I love the way he organized his questions at our last meeting. So I built on that and I used him as a sounding board. And so he kind of helped me write this document. But I already have a change that I'd like to recommend. And it really is because of the news we got tonight about the fact that when I wrote this, we had no idea if the city was going to give us money, right? So if I don't know, would it be appropriate for us to discuss the document, or do you guys want to know what change I want to make in discussing it? How would you like to proceed?
What is the change? I think would be the most logical way.
Can I share my screen?
I can share it if you want, or did you want to share your change? I have to make you a co-host.
I have my change.
Okay, hold on. One moment. Let's see. We're all co-hosts now. Just kidding.
Okay, so what do I do?
Share. Just look for that green button somewhere on your screen that says share screen.
Okay, wait a minute.
Choices of what to share.
Ooh.
I know, fancy.
Be careful what you share, Ed.
It's making me do a little change here. Hold on a second. Well, oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I got to make a real quick change on my computer to allow me to do it. So hold on right now. All right.
I'll vamp and say that that was the first time I ever seen Kylie. We've always only talked on the telephone, and we've been working together for years.
I was really glad that she was here in person.
Me too.
Okay, so you guys see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So if you look at this original document that I wrote, and I'm sorry to scroll here, but if we go down to page 3, paragraph 3, which is highlighted, here's where I was talking about the timing of and what might potentially happen. I'd like to update that paragraph to basically cite the document that City Council has published as public record, which is called the Public Hearing and Adoption of the Fiscal Year 2022 Comprehensive Budget, the Palm Springs Community Redevelopment Successor Agency Budget 5-Year Capital Improvement Program for fiscal years 23 through 27, appropriations limit and allocated positions and compensation plan, basically saying that the City Council has now pledged the money in both those years. So we're making the foundation aware that there now is a pledge from the city, and that part of our questions to them would be for them to come back and incorporate those timelines, any kind of answer and how they would go about potentially raising money for an FF&E. So that's really, I want, because here's what I'm thinking is that now that we know the money is in the pipeline, they really need to come back to have a firm plan and say that knowing the money is coming, here's how we're positioning to get ready for the future program. And in particular, I would see them, and I could totally, this is where I need you guys to give me feedback. We certainly could have them on the hook to help us raise money for FF&E, because that's going to be the part the city's going to be the last to buy, right? And I think that we make them aware to say, potentially, we're going to ask you to help us raise the money for that very large part of the budget, to be determined. We don't know what that's going to look like. But I was just thinking that I think we might want to give them some more of an assignment than saying, well, we may get the money. We're going to get the money now. Am I making sense?
Yes,
Yes.
yes. The circumstances have changed since the last month, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So if this change is okay, I will incorporate it into the document. Let's go now to the document. Were there any thoughts, questions, comments, suggestions on that document? I've got it right here. I can certainly take notes as you guys make the changes to it.
Yeah, I had just two questions that could be easily answered.
Okay.
How much total funds does the foundation have presently? And
Okay.
how are they planning on expending those funds?
Okay. Let's see. Where do you think we should insert that question? Would it be advisability, or would it be under the section of or do you think it should be under the permissibility? Trustee Norgard, you're the expert here. Where do you think we should put that?
I would say under the advisability section.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, maybe right here and after this paragraph, maybe we ask that part of the response would be right here, where we talk about has reached the fundraising capability. Maybe right there we should insert, can we have an update on how much, and I'm sorry, rephrase that for me one more time, Craig.
Yeah, just the amount of funds that they presently hold, and then how do they plan on using those funds? And that should take into consideration our $46,000, which is now their $46,000.
I'll work on that. That doesn't sound right to me, but
I would say the trustees' requests rather than would like.
thank you. Everybody's watching me, right? So I'm misspelling, so ignore my misspelling.
It's hard to type with an audience.
Now you're making me even more nervous. All right, so the trustees would like a current accounting of the balance of all funds currently held by the foundation, and any plans for those funds currently in the foundation's request.
I would say the trustees request a current accounting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. We have enough college degrees on this phone call right now that this should be an amazing document, right? Think of the power trust we have here, right? How many
I
master's
prefer
degrees
math. I like math.
How many master's degree and PhDs on one call can you get, right?
Yeah, but
All right.
I was
Does
the
that
English
sound
lit
okay?
major. Yeah. I was the English lit major and drove my staff crazy because
gosh. Now you may be even more
everything.
nervous. Okay. And Trustee Barbara, how about you? Is there anything else you wanted?
That was it. The only question I have about your edition, which I like, is this going to put them FF&E has really been handled a lot by the Friends in the
That's a good
past.
point. Yeah.
So are we going to be having two organizations competing or sending out the same message?
That's a good question.
Hmm.
I would just say we figure out how much it costs and then people can decide, and we were kind of putting the information on the technology track. And so we could help guide the ask, if you will. When we get into the project to figure out what we need. We could say, okay, you all might help us raise for an auditorium, or you might help us raise for all the furniture,
That's true. And there's no reason why in that MOU document, once we kind of work through this, we might not charge them with working in partnership with the Friends on this particular project, if the Friends so wish to participate in that, right?
Yeah, I'm just looking at what the Friends have done for the library in the past.
Well, in the past, we just didn't even have a foundation to help us. So
Right.
we didn't divvy up any work. Really.
Before anything happens with the architects and that type of stuff, Jeannie, are you going to be able to come up with a list of FF&E things that we're going to need, no matter what the design or the interior looks like?
We have a lot of that already, honestly, from the 2013 plans. But yeah, we will. I don't want to make a list right now because they may come in and say, who am I to say how many parking spaces per person we need? But the experts will tell me. And experts told us in 2013, literally how many parking spaces we needed, how many chairs we needed, how many shelf feet of bookshelves, that sort of thing. So how many toilets, the experts are going to tell us. But that's a lot of stuff. I mean, we'll figure it all out. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think the foundation is going to need to have something out there that they're going to show, hey, this is what we're raising money for.
Mm-hmm. So when we get our plan, we get our program, and we'll get a cost estimate of what we need and what everything's going to cost. And then that's the point where we can start saying, okay, who wants to fundraise for this and who wants to fundraise for that? Or do you want to work together equally hand in hand, just have a pot of money that goes towards this project? So yeah, we'll get there.
Okay.
Well, I could see where at some point we'll have a laundry list of all the things that we need for the building outside of the infrastructure. And that might be where we have a meeting of the minds, or you guys have a meeting of the minds, where the three groups come together and say, this makes sense for this particular group to contribute to this particular project. And you might divvy them up that way. I know that's how, once again, I hate to beat that horse, but that's how we did it in San Francisco, where the city said, okay, well, we'll come up with a little bit of money to do this. Whereas the foundation said, we'll take this. And the friend said, we'll take that, right? So you could very well have the projects divvied up that way. Just simply based on their resources and what they can do at the time. But all right. Any other thoughts, Trustee Borba?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Trustee Gardner or Norgard, anything?
I'm good.
So here's what I'd like to do with this document, if it is the pleasure of the trustees, is that I would like to, Jeannie's had her edits to it. Now we have. I'd like to officially present this over to the, do you want me to stop sharing my screen, Jeannie?
Yes,
Yeah.
I would like to, because I'd like to see the people. Thank you.
So I'd like to officially send this over to the Library Foundation Board and say that we would like you to be prepared to respond, at least, if not in part, in whole to this document at the September meeting. Because I think that gets 2 months to work on this and to ask for clarification. I'm not going anywhere. So if they need clarification, they can always come back to Jeannie and myself for clarification. But I think that we need to get this moving because I will tell you that MOU, I think is the most important document we've got to work on next and get that started if we're going
Right.
to have this relationship. So let's give them a chance to come back and present to us. So David and Bill, I know you're out there, you're listening. Do you think that's a reasonable request if you get this week that you can turn around and be prepared to present to us in September?
Yeah, but, absolutely. I mean, that's plenty of time. I do have a question about the MOU. You know, we have been talking kind of behind the scenes since we got this draft from you. Are you expecting us to come up with a first draft of the MOU, or is that something that you would do?
I think it's something we'll have to issue to you. So
Yeah,
I
I think so
that
too.
we would use the city attorney's office to help us come up with a document. I'm sure they have plenty of examples that they've used before that we could build off of. So we're not going to reinvent the wheel on that. But like Kylie just said, we may present to them a bullet list of things that we want to include. They'll draft a document and present it to you guys. And then it will go back and forth for a little while until we get it worked out.
Okay, and my next question is a little more general and not necessarily about this document, but for and maybe others have the same question. Assuming that everything goes as planned, who is it that's going to hire the architect and spearhead the project of the quote unquote new library?
That's the city.
Okay,
Right.
so the city's going to, and the city presumably will do that with public input?
Well, the bidding process is through the procurement and contracting department. So they'll put out a public bid.
Okay,
Then they will hire the appropriate people, and then I'm sure we will have community input, periods and things like that for what we want the library to be, which is what we've done in the past. And that is guided by the architects or the consultants that are involved in the project. So there will be plenty of time for the community to give their suggestions or input of what they think the library needs to have.
And a recommendation I would make from my experience as chair of the airport commission, I had to fight to get 2 representatives from the airport commission on the RFP committee. But that was the David Reddy. I don't know that we would have to do it with Justin, but regardless, when they put together the committee that's going to review these proposals, we need at least 1 or 2 trustees on that committee. So I just want to put that bug in who's ever here. Let's just stay alert to that, because it's not a normal process to invite members of the governing board to participate in that practice. But I was successful with David, and I'm hopeful Justin will also be very amenable to that. So.
okay.
Yeah, and I think Ed was on our committee before for reviewing consultants, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah.
It'd be nice if someone from the foundation could be on that involved too. And then I do want to say something else. What I'm just kind of thinking out loud, but let's assume that we don't have enough money. You know, that 14.2 or 14.1 isn't enough, because, you know, every day we wait, it seems like prices go up 10%. So the foundation would obviously fill in that gap. You know, we know the Friends doesn't want to do that. And also, I think it would be pretty easy to define who's going to do what in terms of, you know, let's say that committee comes up with a bare bones library and we want to enhance it, then that's the perfect opportunity for the foundation to go out and raise $10 million and name it, you know, the Mary Smith Children's Room and whatever, you know, that's kind of, that's how at least I envision the foundation's participation.
It would
And
be,
you know, the Friends can buy the computers and the chairs and all that.
so David, it would be my strong suggestion, and that the foundation would want to take the position that any infrastructure to a building is city responsibility, because it's a city building and the city is responsible for that building, whatever changes are made. And by the way, we don't know what that looks like just yet, but I'm sure Jeannie knows there's going to have to be major infrastructure, seismic. There's a lot of things that's going to have to happen. That is the city's responsibility. You cannot go out and raise money and ask anybody in this town to give money that the city needs to provide. So, you know, putting a
Right.
toilet in, they're going to say, I'm not giving you any money. That's the city's responsibility. I
Mhm.
think that the foundation would want to carve out what you just said, all the things that will make that a showplace, because that's what you're going to raise money around, right?
Yeah.
And in the planning, the architects are going to be able to very easily identify just what that is. Trust me, all
Okay.
architects are going to say, hey, we want to take the koi pond and make it into a skating ring, and it'll be the most beautiful skating ring with books all around it, right? They'll have a vision, I am sure. And they may sell the foundation in finding the money to provide such a thing, right? That's the part that I think the foundation is going to want to stand over and want to have their name on. The friends, I don't know. We haven't had that conversation with, but the friends, they may want to join in with the foundation and do some of those beautiful projects, right? So,
Well, well, okay. I mean, I know this is not appropriate for this discussion, but why would they? I mean, that's why the foundation was formed in the first place.
right. But what I'm saying is they may
Yeah.
say, hey, foundation, we'd like to give a gift to the foundation for beautiful chairs to go in the main reading room. They may want to contribute, because I have had that experience too, where they don't want to go out and raise it, but they certainly would like to make a gift to go towards it, right?
Ah, got it. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's all I have. We'll definitely formulate, some thoughtful responses, and thank you for giving the loan. We're all very excited about that. And Bill.
Chair recognizes Bill.
Thanks. One thing, just listening to everything, I mean, it's such an exciting evening, and the world changed Thursday night, right? So it's game on, and I know we're going to have tomorrow night a great foundation meeting because everybody's been waiting to get out of the starting gates. So, but one thing that occurs to me, and I think this is a kind of a positive thing, if we all look at this from a positive standpoint, Jeannie pointed out, this is probably a $25 to $30 million project, right? And we have stakeholders with leadership at the trustees and senior management inside the library. We have the city. We potentially have the state if the grant comes in. And then we have the friends and the foundation. And so if we can all start thinking about singing from the same hymn book on a $25, $30 million project for all those organizations, and then you guys can, with the city, obviously, say, look, the vision is thus and so, and let's get everybody in those stakeholders to buy in on use of money and then what we need to fundraise. The one thing I wanted to add to that is let's not forget about an endowment, because this is the opportune time to go after some substantial funds that will help sustain the 25, 30 million that we raise.
Mhm.
So if we could pile on it somewhere between 2 and 5 million and get started on an endowment, that is going to play off, and maybe we can get to 10 million, and then there's $400,000 coming into the library every year for bigger projects. So it's something like if you had 10 million and then you were throwing off 4% of the 10 million, you could do the Fry building in 2 years. So that's the level, that's the importance of that endowment. And according to, we've asked Library Strategies about this several times, and Peter's always said this is the opportune time is when you're asking for community involvement and substantial contributions. Make sure that you tell them that you want to sustain what we're building, right? How are we going to make best use of this 25 million is to have another 5-10 million where we can keep loading on every year. So anyway, my 2 cents.
May I respond to that? And Jeannie, you certainly can pipe in here too, as I know you will. But I think you're talking about two different things, Bill. I think an endowment is, I've said all along from the very beginning, I wanted to see an endowment from the foundation. An endowment has got to have the support and the input from the city or the library director. You need to know what that endowment will do for the library so that you can go out and raise money around it. That might be an entirely different project. It might have its own MOU. It might have its own specifications, because they may come back and say that we want an endowment for an archive. She just announced she's hiring an archivist, right? An archivist. So there could be, I think the endowment is a whole different thing, right? But I think that for the Fry building, as you may have, I don't know if you heard this or not, the Fry building infrastructure is funded in the city's capital improvement plan. So what we were talking about here, once again, is the foundation and the Friends, because the Friends want to use it as a bookstore. So this might be more of a Friends project in some ways than a foundation. How are they going to make it pretty and put the lipstick on it, right? So I think that's don't forget, we're going to have the infrastructure will be done. It's what are you going to do with that building to make it nice? Did that answer your question?
Yes, I didn't mean to imply, no, I know that Fry's funded. What I meant to do was use that as an example of the power of a endowment fund that would be there for use by the trustees and senior library management. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, I think I also would say, guys, that the trust fund needs to be replenished as well. We at some point, the trustees may ask the foundation to help, raise money around the trust fund, or what will happen to the trust fund in the future, right? The trust fund could very well become the endowment, I guess is what I'm saying. But I think long-term, we need to think about, the current funding source of the trust fund and what happens to it. And how we may want to restructure that to be an endowment through the foundation, because it'd be much easier to raise money around it. That's just my thoughts I've had about that. But yeah, I think we need to understand now we have an archivist, and I've heard too many people say we want to see archives, we want to see the city history preserved, we want to see a lot of things. That right there might be another great project for an endowment fund. But Jeannie has a long laundry list of things she'd like to have, right? So I think she could be the first to identify. Thank you, though, Bill. That's good feedback.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to get the document finalized. I'll send it over to you, David. Hopefully, in the next couple of, maybe even tomorrow if I have time to do it tomorrow. And I'll ask you officially to be prepared to respond at our next meeting in September. Okay.
Okay.
Very good. Wow. I can't believe we're talking about this, but yeah, it's kind of nice. All right. So can we get back to our agenda, Jeannie?
Sure, I think, so you're ready for 7A, right? Report
7A.
City Council meeting.
Joint Commission City Council meeting. We had so much fun. Right?
Ed did such a great job.
Oh, thank you. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Did you want me to say something, or were you going to say something about this?
Yeah, no, I was just wanting you to.
Oh, okay.
Back because not everybody was there.
Yeah, so some of you were there with us. It was, and I wasn't able to participate in the dinner beforehand, but Trustee Jones and Trustee Gardner were there. Who else was there for? Let's see. Craig wasn't there, and David, you weren't there, were you?
I was gone.
Yeah, but what I really enjoyed about it was that the presentations by each of the boards and commissions was very informative. And, things that I made assumptions were totally blown away when I heard what they really do and what they did. And, each of them were given so much, myself included, were given so much time to really present briefly what we've accomplished and what our goals are. And it was just a great opportunity for everyone to hear what everyone's doing, because we don't get that opportunity. So I thought it was great to do that, and I hope they'll do that annually so that they can check in with one another and see what's happening. But it was great to have the undivided attention of the trust of the council. I will tell you, Council Member Gardner specifically asked me a question that I think rests with this board for a discussion. As a matter of fact, she charged me with bringing back this question to the board. She wants to know what is the feasibility of returning to a branch system someday for the library? And in particular, and I know where she's coming from, she was talking about as the city grows and the population grows, is it reasonable to think that, you know, one building, two buildings is really going to provide library service throughout our growing city? And I think that's a topic that this board probably needs to bring up in future years pretty soon. Now, by the way, I responded back to her off the top of my head, but it was just based on my experience that, you know, libraries now have different ways of providing community service. You know, they have virtual branches, they have bookmobiles, they have temporary locations. There are all kinds of programs that could be explored, but it might be something that the board does want to entertain. For those of you who may have been around when we were charged with identifying the location, this came up then, as a matter of fact. It was a question we discussed in particular because we were looking at the history. Jeannie, we had 4 branches at one time, right? When there 4?
3, well, maybe 4 for a little bit, but when the main library opened, we have Wellwood, maybe 4. I think
3 or 4. So
south and north, and then Wellwood, and then us. Julie knows, 4.
4. Thank you, Julie. I'm sorry.
Wellwood didn't stay open forever. It closed in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
And the other ones were sold off too because of economic reasons.
You know, and now I'm not suggesting that we rush to put this plan above what we've got in front of us, which is a huge project for the main library by any means. But I do think it's going to be the next topic that needs to be discussed and examined. And maybe it should be discussed as in some way when the planning for the main library is taking off. It could very well come up again because people may ask, with this brand new main library, what about me over in, you know, South Palm Springs, or what about us over in North Palm Springs, which is growing, you know, so quickly. So I think it's a worthwhile question to ask, and I wouldn't be afraid to explore what are some of the options, right? So I mean, it's been a while since I've looked at a bookmobile, but you know, bookmobiles are still out there and they're still used. And they're quite effective. I mean, I worked for a system where the bookmobile, as a matter of fact, I think Trustee Norgard presented that article about Memphis Public. They had a bookmobile for job seekers. They had a bookmobile for reading. They had a bookmobile for children's services. So it's not the traditional bookmobile that we might think of. But once again, that was a question from her that I think at some point we might have that question come back to us. So other than that, that's all I had. Did you have anything, Jeannie?
No, it was a nice time to get together. We hadn't done that, I don't think, ever since I've been here, and I've been here almost 10 years.
Trustee Gardner, any thoughts from you? Because you were there with us.
No, I absolutely loved it. And I think one of the other things that came from it was, after hearing all the different commissions speak about what they do and what they're doing, it was, I had the opportunity to go up and talk to those, the people that spoke, and just introduce myself and just let them know how happy I was to hear what was happening, because sometimes I feel I'm isolated and I think nothing is happening in our city, and there's so many wonderful things happening. And it was really nice to get that. So, I made a few more friends, so I'm happy about that.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you. Al, I don't know if you have anything you wanted to add. Can you hear me?
He's in his car, and he's
okay.
in a dead spot, but he's kind of on here.
All right. So the next item is we have a presentation from Julie about the PR awareness campaign.
Yes, thank you. So in your packet, you received sort of the highlights and some pictures and examples of the ads, but I'm just gonna go ahead and share my screen, she says, hopefully. And I will. All right. So are you seeing my title page or the first slide?
Okay, it looks good.
Yay. Thank you for letting me know that. Okay, so just to review, I just want to remind you that what we decided on was a mobile online campaign. The budget that was remaining from the previous awareness campaign prior to COVID was $5,263.46, which you approved for me to spend. And again, it was for an online campaign, 3 months, and we chose March through May 2022. So just to remind you. And yes, all right. So, so the plan that I proposed to you was doing a combination of mobile, like on your phone, and then AdNet, which is as you're on different websites, different ads would come up based on the ad website you were looking at. Obviously, targeting Coachella Valley. And our target audience was 21 to 54. And because we were focusing on the use of our Chromebooks and our mobile hotspots and just getting a library card, we kind of had those interested in those topics. And so again, those target audiences were filtered through, again, some of the sites that they were on, as well as using their phone, and they're able to do all of that magically through the interwebs. Okay, so now we're going to get into the actual results. So I wanted to tell you, so of the 3 months here, I'm showing you the impressions bought. We bought 100,000 impressions every month. But what was delivered was more than what we purchased. So that's the great thing about doing things online, is that sometimes you get bonus, more impressions than what you actually paid for. And then, so our average click-through rate was 9 times and 7 times the average. So I was happy to see that. And then we got more click-throughs from mobile than tablet. That was pretty obvious. So what we were able to do at the airport, we were able to do free electronic display advertising. They offered to us, not quite the whole month of March, but it was the 10th through the 31st. And we were in the baggage claim area on the video wall of the pictures that were in your packet, as well as shown here. Because we received this free, we didn't get a lot of data, but this is the data that I was able to get. For each day, they planned about 723 different times that our ad would show throughout a day. And most of that, achieved more than what was planned. Our first day was the only day I think that didn't achieve that. So it might have been the time that they actually started our ad on that first day. But as you could see from the information here, we got, well over what was planned, and many people saw it. Now, unfortunately, because we were one of the first departments that requested something like this, through this process, we also found out that the airport would not be able to offer us free advertising in the future. So if we wanted to advertise at the airport going forward, we would have to pay an advertising fee. But it was a good experiment, and I'll kind of show you a little bit more what the click-through to what we were able to get from that 1 month. Okay. So when people click through, what they went to was a library landing page on our website. And so as you can see from this slide, the library landing page activity for March was about 1,100 hits, in April about 700, in May about 504. But the interesting thing is that each month, the time that they spent on the page went up. And kind of how we were able to look at the analytics was that this was just the landing page that's supposed to take them to somewhere else. Now, what analytics doesn't tell us exactly is where else did they go. But the most page that made the most sense was actually to get a library card, which is what we were trying to get them to do, because to use our services, they have to have a library card. So that is kind of the page where we saw that, and I'll share some of that data with you also going forward. But that was really our goal in this, was to get people to get library cards and to utilize our services. So again, this is the analytics report showing me all this kind of information. So in summary, although you gave me $52.63 and 46 cents, I spent $5,000. The time frame was still the 3 months of March through May. The total AdNet and mobile impressions delivered, although we purchased 300,000, we got 312,109. The total click-through by device were 9 and 7 times the national average, so that was great. And we resulted in 2,350 sessions on the library's website because of that. Now, I did also include the library card registrations just so we could correlate. In March and in April, we saw an uptick in the amount of library cards that we received. Now, can I say that exactly correlates to what we were doing? No, but because we were doing this campaign, that makes sense that obviously we were reaping the rewards of what we were doing. Strangely, in May, it went down, but we did notice in May that they were spending longer on our website. So that's kind of my report in a nutshell. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Unless you wanted me to go back, sorry.
This is Al Jones. I had a couple of questions when it's appropriate.
Sure.
And I apologize, I had to hop in the car at 6:30 to get to another meeting in Rancho Mirage at 7.
Okay.
But so I'm following all of this. 2 questions. Remind me what impressions mean. I don't know that I will ever be able to retain that. And secondly, I was surprised. So to advertise at the airport, we have to pay in order for that advertisement, even though we're a public city agency?
Yeah, okay, so let me answer that question first. So as I understand it, and they're still, they're kind of working to it. So the city, although I'm a department of the city, just like the airport is, the airport has a contract with an advertising agency to do that. And although the airport gets so many free advertisements that they can advertise things, I guess what came out of this was that they can't then pass it on to someone else. And so they're always looking at things, and you never know. I mean, things could change in the future depending on how they structure their advertising agreements. Those are renewed, I think, annually. So there might be an opportunity in the future. But as I understand it right now, I was told that they wouldn't be able to extend free advertising in the near future to us for something like.
Is that coming in from the city or coming from the airport?
Kind of both. And then, okay, and then your first question, okay, so an impression is the times that it comes up and that people see it. So basically how I understand it and describe it is when somebody sees it, when it comes up either like on the website as a banner ad, when you're searching a website, or on your mobile device as you're looking at something, it's those ads that are popping up. And so those are counted as impressions. So every time those come up, that's an impression.
Okay, thank you. I can never get that straight.
No worry. Any other questions I can answer?
Nice job.
Really good work.
Well, I appreciate the investment and letting me complete the campaign with the remaining funds. And, if there's other opportunities in the future as we're moving forward, with the library building project, there might be other opportunities that I'd be happy to work on if the board would like me to look at that.
Julie, can you keep us updated on the future charges at the airport when they decide what they're going to be?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it as always. Okay. I'm sorry, let me get my agenda back up here. I think that concludes our agenda, right? Oh, I'm sorry. No, we have one more. We need to discuss reviewing and adjusting the meeting date for fiscal year 22-23 for October 5th because it occurs on Yom Kippur. So what are you proposing, Jeannie?
I don't really have a proposal, but I kind of kept it open in case there were other dates next year that you wanted to talk about. So, but I know specifically we were told October, we need to reschedule. I don't really have something, but one thing I do want to say, as the director, I plan to be gone sometimes when you do have board meetings. So Lisa and Julie will probably each get a turn once a year to run the program, run the board meeting. So I just want you all to be aware of that, and it's a great training opportunity for them to take over this. And, but just know that vacations happen, things happen in our lives. Sometimes I can't be here, but notwithstanding on this October meeting, but just, do you all have a date that we can't do the 4th or the 5th in October?
Doesn't make any difference to me. If it's in October, I'm planning to be in Europe somewhere in the first 2 weeks of October.
And I'm gone from the 6th through the 14th of October. So we're gonna have a quorum issue.
We could meet on the 3rd if you wanted.
What date are you leaving, Al?
It's either the 2nd or the 3rd at this point. I'm trying to finalize the actual flight. I've arranged for a house sitter for the dog. That was the important thing. Having to work around her schedule.
It's up to you. So we have our meeting September 7th. And then October is usually the 1st. We could,
Can we postpone this decision until Al schedule is firm?
Okay, that's good. I'm going to finish that off in the next few days.
And if
yeah,
he's,
but at least the 2nd or 3rd, he's going to be gone, right? 2nd or 3rd?
Yes, it should be if everything comes together on it.
okay,
Part of this is to make sure that I get the upgrade to business class with my miles. That's what I'm hassling United about right now.
good luck.
Do you want to
Oh,
move
I
it?
have about 1 million of them. It shouldn't be an issue, but things are an issue now that they didn't used to be. So
Yeah, we just booked our trip to Europe, so.
Do you
Did you
want to
get
do
upgraded?
something towards like the 3rd week of October, maybe the 19th?
Yes, let me suggest the
That would work.
19th.
Yeah.
that would work.
The 19th works for me.
Yeah, me too.
Would work for me.
Ed's hoping he's not on here by then.
Well, Ed, the way the city council's going, Ed, you're still going to be on here.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm okay with that night with the 19th as well. So I'm not going to Europe. I've already been.
I know you have on quite a luxury tour, I might add.
I'm going to Mississippi, if that makes any consolation, right? So that's
I'm
about all.
going to Missouri, so we're right there.
And it's a good thing you can't see my gestures right now. So
So, October, so we're gonna put the October meeting on October 19th, and then we're gonna flip right around and have November 2nd.
That's probably too soon, isn't it?
Yeah,
But I don't have any conflicts in November, but we could do something different.
maybe the 2nd week of November. Well,
At
that's
this
what we-
rate, we're still gonna be on Zoom. I kind of.
Yeah.
oh, really?
I
The
bet.
city council are going virtual this week, and so the council won't be in chambers, but the public is able to attend, but.
Right.
How about October 19th and then November 9th?
I think that would work. But
Yeah, that works for me.
Julie, do we have, any programming issue? At some point, we'll be open Wednesday evenings again, pretty soon. As soon as we get those 2 positions filled, we're gonna go back to nights.
Yes, so I don't have any conflict now, and that's the good thing about deciding on these dates, so then I don't have to. Then I will avoid those dates in case we are meeting or whatever.
Okay,
So I'll just,
so we'll put board on November 19th. I mean 9th, sorry, October 19th and November 9th.
Right.
and then we'll leave December on December 7th, so
I'm still,
that we won't have the
that one.
conflict of the holidays. December 7th?
when's Santa coming?
I have no idea.
So
Gosh, oh my gosh, it's so soon.
Okay, so December 7th will be somewhat questionable. I'm not sure what time, what day we're getting back.
Do you want to move it?
No, I'll know in a week when we're getting back. We don't know if we're extending our trip or not. So November 9th.
We can talk about that one later when we get closer to the.
December 7th.
Okay.
Oh, no, November 9th, sorry, yeah, November 9th and December 7th. Right.
Okay, so what I have right now is Wednesday, September 7th, Wednesday, October 19th, and Wednesday, November 9th. Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Great. That's exciting. Exciting for me to get those on the books.
Can you send those? Darn it. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Mhm, yeah, sorry.
Okay. Can you send those dates? I wasn't able to write them down.
Mhm, yeah.
That'd be great. I mean, I know my calendar well enough to know they work. I just don't know which ones you said, so.
Yep. Okay, Ed, so number 8, that's it, number 8. We'll do the rest of the year when we need to.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Do we have any other comments or future agenda items for our next meeting?
The only thing I would say about the all commission meeting, I was trying to speak and that was the dead zone, but that was really an exciting opportunity to hear what the other commissions were doing. I did appreciate that opportunity. In all the years I was on the airport commission and chair, we never had an event such as that. And I thought sharing that information with one another was really very important.
Thank you.
And of course, Ed, you did a stupendous job. So
Oh, thank you. It was fun.
Our slideshow was amazing.
Well, I wonder why. Who made that? Oh, who did the slideshow? Let's see.
And
Oh,
Parks
that's
and Rec
right.
one
The
was
library
pretty good,
director
too.
did it.
Pretty good.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for us having, I think we needed to have this meeting because we clearly had some topics we had to get moving on. So I thank you. And of course, I'll miss you next month, but we'll see you again bright and early in September. And I will, like I said, get the document out to the foundation here in the next day or so. So I will adjourn the meeting and I have the time as being 6:51 and we'll talk to you guys soon. Have a safe and happy August.
All right.
thank you all.
Be safe.